Back.
All
Finally.
right, Phil. Thanks, Coach, for joining us for a few minutes today, and we will begin with C.L. Brown.
Hey, Phil, I know you've kind of been asked this in one way or another before, but I kind of wanted to get into your relationship with Sam as related to being on the same page and how important that is, for game planning and the execution of games. And I asked him earlier, I'm asking you about this triple python play. I'm intrigued, not necessarily by the execution of it, but just how a quarterback feels comfortable enough. And you as an offensive coordinator, don't just kind of look at him like, you don't know what you're doing, kid. Because, you said he was recommending it ever since he came in as a freshman. And just if you could just kind of take me through the evolution of how you guys got to being where you're more collaborators, as you said before, as opposed to I'm coach, you're player, you run what I say.
Well, it stems from CL, the ultimate desire to want to have a quarterback who ultimately could go out on the field and call the offense, right? I mean, there's no ego involved with play calling. So that doesn't happen very often. There aren't a lot of guys, right? Peyton Manning, maybe Ben Roethlisberger, maybe there's a couple special guys, and these guys have developed themselves and gotten to a point where they collaborate with their OCs and they have as much to say with regards to what's being run and what they call on game day as anybody, because they have years and years of experience. It doesn't happen very often in college football. I only know of a couple examples. One of them is with one of my previous guys, but you very rarely ever get to that point from a knowledge standpoint and a trust standpoint and a leadership standpoint. But I've always said the quarterback has the best seat in the house. He's got a better seat than anybody I have up in the booth and better than I have on the sideline. And so we're on a quest to try to get there. Very rarely do we ever get there in college because these guys are only here for 3 or 4 years. But we're getting to a point now where the first year, Sam and I learned to trust each other very, very short period of time. And I think by the time we got into the season, it only took 3 or 4 weeks before I started to trust that he knew what to do in the play, trust the call. And by the end of the year, I think we had a really good rapport with regards to him knowing what I wanted to call and the two of us being on the same page from a game plan standpoint. And you want to do that with the whole staff and the whole team. But obviously, I'm communicating with Sam on a more personal level during the game. That's why I choose to signal. I don't want to signal, but I want to cut out the middleman. So we want to maintain our tempo, and I want to maintain my direct communication with our quarterback. In this case, it's Sam Howell. And so the second year, he's so knowledgeable and he puts so much time in that it's really like talking to a coach now. And he has that kind of understanding of the game. And so you just become collaborators. You bounce ideas off of each other and you put together the plan. And I always want to put a play out there that our quarterback is comfortable with. And I've said this before, we have 3 ways to attack down the middle of the field. And we really like one way as a staff, but Sam, that's his third choice. He doesn't like it. He doesn't feel comfortable with it. And the other 2 are effective. I'm probably going to lean towards the comfort level of our quarterback because at the end of the day, he's the one that touches the ball every down. So that's kind of how it happened. That's where it goes. We're on the same path with every quarterback. Some of them get further down that road than others. And Sam right now is probably as far down that road as anybody I've had.
Thanks.
Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, Sam told us that one of his points of emphasis, not just in the spring, but here in fall, was to learn to not hold on to the ball so and get rid of it a little bit quicker, citing that was one of the reasons for a number of sacks last year. Did you see him make progress in that area?
So I missed what you said in the beginning. He said it was to what?
It was a point of emphasis for him to learn to get rid of the ball quicker, not hold on to it so long, saying
sure.
that was one of the reasons for the number of sacks last year. Did you see progress from him in that area?
I have. I think it's something we constantly work on. I think it's something that we constantly talk about. I just brought up in a quarterback meeting the other day. We had a really, really sharp, crisp, up-tempo practice. And really, I think it gets started because we get into Skelly before we get into team. We get into one-on-one before we get into Skelly. And so when we're making quick decisions, throwing the football, and we're throwing in rhythm and we're not holding the ball, I think it changes the entire field of practice. And so I challenge our quarterbacks every day. We need to get better, and we need to stay consistent with regards to making quick decisions and being decisive with our throws. And when we do that, I think it lends to a lot more rhythm in the offense. And I don't think that's any different in a game.
After a season where you didn't have to really worry about crowd noise affecting what the guys were communicating on the field, what has been the process and how challenging has it been the last couple of weeks getting them ready for that? And how much does it help that you got a veteran like Sam and you got 4 2-year starters in the offensive line to kind of help you guys ease into Friday night?
So I think the crowd noise is no more of an issue than it's ever been. I mean, when you have the veterans that we do up front and you have the veteran at quarterback that we do, I think we're able to handle that communication. I don't think that's a big issue. Receivers are going to move on the football anyway, so that's kind of a non-factor with those guys. The new atmosphere or the culture that we're going to have this year, because it was so quiet last year. I mean, I still say after the Syracuse game, it was the most eerie feeling I've ever had, and we had players run down to the end zone and sing the fight song to nobody. And there was absolutely no noise after the game. And it was surreal. I mean, I looked at Lily, I'm like, this feels like, I said, Coach Lily, feels like a scrimmage or something. And we had just rolled in the second half and finished a pretty solid win. And you wanted to celebrate with them, but it felt weird. So this year, I think we're more excited. My point is we're more excited about, even in an away game with a more hostile crowd, we're just going to be fired up that we're back in the normal atmosphere with full stadiums, playing ball like it's designed to be played. And so I think it'll be a positive for our guys here in this locker room.
Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Ross Martin.
Hey, Coach. With the news of Bo Corrales out, I was wondering if you could shed some light on the depth chart for wide receiver, kind of who you're looking at the most. I know last weekend, Matt kind of highlighted 4 different receivers. I was wondering your opinion on kind of who you see stepping up and stepping in this week.
Well, I would say that we are enjoying the benefit of having some depth now. And I think to have lost Bo Corrales 2 years ago, when we didn't have the same depth at wide receiver, would have been much more devastating. And that's not to downplay his role or his importance by any stretch. But right now we've got Emory Simmons, who's playing great football. We have Antoine Green, who's playing great football. We have Joffrey Brown, Diami's brother, who's running around. He's probably as fast, if not faster than Diami. We didn't want me to say that, but he's definitely a vertical threat. And then you've got some younger guys like JJ Jones who are stepping up and doing a nice job. And so right now there are 4 guys I think that we feel like we can lean on and count on that are getting reps. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw any one or any 2 of those 4 in the game on Friday night.
Greg Barnes, go ahead.
Hey, Phil, with the backup quarterback race being as competitive as it's been, does that put you in a position where you can kind of decide who's going to be the backup based on game situations, based on maybe who the opponent is as you go week to week?
Yeah, I really don't think that situation changes much. I think it's very, it's imperative that you make a decision about who your starter is. And we kind of let the 3 guys 2 years ago decide that by their production. And it was Sam. And so we started Sam, and nothing else mattered other than who was doing a good job leading our team and who was producing. And so the situation with your backup's a little bit different. I want them both preparing to be the backup. You want them both to be ready to play. You want to have the ability to go to both of them. And so we'll forever have a backup competition here behind the starter, and we'll play the guy that is most prepared that week to back up Sam in the event that we would actually need them. And so I like that they both compete with each other. They both work with each other. They're both learning from Sam, which is fantastic. And I've urged them both, look, squeeze out everything you can from Sam Howell, because when he leaves, it's a lost opportunity if you don't. So take advantage of it while you have it. And whether that's a year or 2, we don't know, but take everything that you can get. And they're doing a good job of sponging off of Sam. And I think the two of them are really doing a good job of being great teammates and great competitors.
Thanks.
All right, last one for Coach Longo will come from Pat James.
Hey, Coach, just what's it been like the last 3 years watching Josh Ezeudu's development, not only in terms of, as an offensive lineman, but also kind of the confidence that he's kind of grown over the last few years in terms of speaking up, not only as a leader, but even in situations such as these, kind of despite his stutter?
So I would say this. One, I want to thank you for giving me an O-line question. Finally, we love those guys as much as we love the other guys. And Joshua Ezeudu is an individual, I think, that has overcome a lot just in his life. And I sat with him one time last year and had a more personal conversation about, his upbringing and him overcoming some of the things that he's had to overcome. And, it's really interesting that as Josh gets more confident with things, he becomes more impressive, in talking with him. And he's a very, very confident individual right now. I think he handles himself in social settings very, very well, considering what he's overcome. And I think on the field, he's done a tremendous job. He's one of those examples that you would turn and utilize with a younger guy as a player that has continually tried to excel mentally and physically. And he's gotten better every day for the last 3 years. And I think he's in great shape right now. I think he's going to have a great season. And I think Ezeudu is a product of everything he's put into his physical and his mental development. And I'm proud of the kid. I love the kid. He's a leader for us. He's great in that room. He's great on the team. He's great in the locker room. And I'm excited. I'm excited to watch all these guys play this year. But he'll be the anchor for our offensive line this season.
Thanks, Coach, for a couple of minutes this afternoon. We appreciate it.
All right. Enjoy the game. We'll see you. Thank you.